Hi guys, this is an unexpected live. I yeah, I'm part of the Insomniacs Club, but I have been to sleep. For those of you who are saying in the comments here, Michelle never sleeps. I do, I do. I was asleep by 11 p.m. But then Cassie woke me up at 3:30, wanting a wee. So I let her out for a wee, and now I can't get back to sleep. She's promptly gone back to sleep. Tilly's asleep in my bed and looks very comfortable, but I can't get back to sleep. So I thought I'll come on and do a quick live because there's some things that are going round that aren't true. So I want to discuss those. So I thought, well, I might as well hop on and do a quick live here. So I've got a couple of things to talk about. Before I get into it, let's just say a few hellos. Let's have a see who's in the house. Karen, dogs with jobs. My dogs need a job, especially Cassie. She needs a job. She needs a job. She might not wake up at 3:30 wanting a wee if she gets a job. Get a Springer Spaniel, they said. It'll be fun, they said. Springer Spaniels are fun, but they're little balls of energy, especially at 3:30 in the morning. Hi, Susan, Diana, Mel, Vala. Who else is here? Fifi, Ali, Alyssa, Kate. Who else? There's a big conversation going on, so I'm having to flick down the chat here. Cecile, hello, 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 hello. Who else? There is a massive conversation. Tina Marie, Python, Chick, Pasha Bell. Okay, loads of people. few people coming in. All right. Oh, great time for me. 8:17 p.m. in California. Oh, that is a good time. That is a good time. I'm guessing it's also a good time for Australians as well. It's currently 4:23 a.m. for me, but I promise you that I have slept and I will be going back to sleep after this. So there you go. So I'm guessing that most people who are in the chat live here are either in the extreme east of me, like as far east as you can go in Australia, or you are over on the west coast of America. So that's good. It's 9:22 Idaho time. 8:23 for Sandy. All right. Okay, let's get into this. So there's a lot of talk going on about Bryan Kohberger being on social media, and there's loads of creators talking about it. And I haven't talked about this at all, even though I'm watching that information and I'm collecting information. Like some of the short videos that I'm putting out at the moment are just to collect information and just to store information that might be useful at some point in the future. So things like his previous students coming out talking, I think is important. His classmates, his friends who knew him in the past, all of that to me is very relevant. Because if you've been watching my lives over on MichelleAfterDark and my videos, then you'll know that I'm trying to find out psychologically what makes Bryan Kohberger tick. What was his past like? You know, was he violent in the past? Was he antisocial in the past? Based on a risk assessment tool that forensic psychologists use. So I'm collecting information, but in the process of doing that, obviously there's a lot of irrelevant information. There's a lot of information out there that, not that it's lies, it's just incorrect. And the reason why I can't talk about the social media stuff is because I can't verify that it's true. I just can't verify that it's true. Thank you, Bob, for the $4.99. That's very kind of you. A little dancing, I don't know what it is, a little bird. Looks like Tweety Pie over on my other screen there. You can't see the dancing things on super stickers on StreamYard, so I have YouTube up on another screen here. So there's Reddit posts that people are talking about that are supposedly Bryan. Facebook, TikTok. There's the Daily Mail stuff that came out that I did a really short video over on MichelleAfterDark a few hours ago. And I said, I don't believe that this person in jail that's supposedly exposing himself and shouting the odds, with no evidence that this is true. It's not necessary that the woman concerned is lying, but it's possibly not true. So I want to talk about that, and I want to talk about the TikTok, because the user on TikTok that people have been debating and saying is Bryan, some people have come out and said this is Bryan Kohberger. Well, we now know it isn't, because the user has actually come out and made TikToks. So it can't be Bryan, can it? Because Bryan is sitting in Pennsylvania in Monroe County Jail. So it can't be. It absolutely can't be him. So I want to play you one of his TikToks here. Now, other things like the Reddit posts, Facebook, those other things, I can't say one way or another at the moment. And my hunch is, and this is literally my hunch, is that none of them are Bryan. In calling into a podcast, again, I can't prove or disprove whether that's Bryan or not. But it's my hunch that these social media accounts are not Bryan. But that is just my hunch. So I don't know. Holly, thank you for the $4.99. That's very kind of you. With the avocado doing weights. Keep it up. Thank you. Thank you. So this person is the one that posted this video. I don't know whether some of you have seen it. It's pretty graphic if you've seen it. It's very graphic, actually. I'm not going to play it. I mean, it's had 619,000 views. Thank you, Bob, for the $1.99. Bobby, I'm female. Sorry. Sorry, Bobby. Okay. Well, thanks for the $1.99. It's pretty graphic, and what he was saying was that he's got a relative of one of the investigators, and that's why he knows so much about the case. And the information that he's put out there could be true. But, you know, if he's got a relative who's loose-lipped, who was part of the investigation team and just was really loose-lipped, it could be true. But it's pretty graphic, saying that one victim was lying on top of another because, in relation to Kaylee and Maddie, that Kaylee jumped up and tried to run, and he had to catch her, and then he shoved her and she fell on top of Maddie, and that's how they were found. Pretty graphic stuff. So people quite logically, I guess, have been saying that, well, it has to be Bryan, because who else would know that level of detail? It's either got to be Bryan, or it's somebody who is an absolute fruit bat, absolute freak, because, why would you make something like that up? It's so graphic. So it must be true, therefore. But it isn't true. It isn't true. Thank you, Army Mom, for the $9.99, and Lady Fox for the $5 Canadian. Good job, the fox. We've got the fox who appears a lot, and the avocado that appears a lot, and then there's some that I've never seen, these super stickers. Now this, I lighten that up where you see his reflection in the computer screen. I took a screenshot of it. There's just like a split second, and I got it on that split second and lightened it up, and it did not look like Bryan to me. But people have been like comparing his ears, and I did it on a live over on MichelleAfterDark, comparing his ear shape, and he does have similar shaped ears. But even that, it's completely coincidental. It's not him. All right. And there's 3 videos here that have come out since he made this video. And it can't be him. It can't be him. So let's show you. Hold on. I'll just can I stop that? I'll just show you. Look. I'm innocent until I hate TikTok for doing this. Stop it. So this was 5 hours ago. He made these TikToks. So can you see? No, you can't see because I'm not even sharing my screen. Oh yeah, I am. Yeah, I am. Yeah, I am. Yeah, I am. Can you see right here? 5 hours ago. So I've just clicked on that now. You saw me just click on it. So that's the time. And this one, he's done 3 TikToks 5 hours ago. And he wants to update us. So we're going to play these TikToks. And so that's one social media account that we can cross off the list as definitely not Bryan, because he's not sitting in Monroe County Jail making TikToks. He's just not. So it was possibly Bryan. Do you know what I mean? It was one of those that, well, it could be because of the level of detail. So I'm glad that this guy has come out and, we know for a fact, an absolute fact, that this Josco account is not Bryan. And I will be working on trying to see if some of the other social media accounts that are supposedly Bryan Kohberger, whether I can disprove those. But some of it, unless the user comes out and talks or makes posts now to prove that they're not Bryan, there's no way to prove it just by, you'd have to get the metadata from the and even that wouldn't necessarily disprove that it wasn't that it was Bryan. So yeah, Bobby, I don't use TikTok. I've had a few TikTok accounts actually. I've still got a TikTok account, but I've not used it forever. And I used to have a TikTok that I used to post on semi-frequently, but it just gets on my nerves. Having loads of different social media gets on my nerves. Like I started a Instagram for MichelleAfterDark, and I intended to post little videos on that. Just, little snippets and things, but I never did. I never did. And that account's been banned now. It's been banned and I didn't even make one video. So it's what time is it? 4:35 a.m. if you yeah. I got woken up by a dog that needed a wee, and then I can't get back to sleep, so that's why I'm live. All right, so let's play these TikToks here and see what he's got to say I'll turn the volume up. I can't turn it up all the way up because my son's asleep in the room next door. So go find me. If Kaylee was found at top of Maddie, the killer would be the only one to know that other than Ellie. Yeah, I know. And that's why it's this TikToker who said this. People have deduced quite logically that it could be Bryan because it's a level of detail that we just haven't heard and we don't know. And the only person that would know that is the killer. And then obviously the law enforcement officials who saw the crime scene. However, it can't be Bryan. It can't be Bryan because this TikTok I'm about to play was posted 5 hours ago. You can see it right here. So it can't be Bryan. So it's either that this person is a nutcase who just made stuff up, or is telling the truth that he had a relative that was part of the investigation team and was loose-lipped. Thank you, Gymnastics 101, for the $14.99 Australian dollars. That's very kind of you. All right, so let's play this TikTok here and listen to what he's got to say. So it says, insider update for the curious citizen.
Guys, my posts were getting taken down. I don't know if this may be the same, but if you review my first video, you'll see that all of the things I said, well, about 90% of them have come out of the media since I said them and have been deemed to be true. I have new information from inside the investigative process, and that is that there was a connection between between Kohberger and Kaylee. 2 years ago, they have had 2 witnesses come forward and say that they were interacting at a bar in town. I know nothing about the city, so they were interacting with the bar. Anyway, the police believe that they perhaps went home together that night, and only because phone records have been searched and they have discovered that all of a sudden, 2 years ago, all of a sudden, Kaylee's phone began being bombarded with messages from Bryan Kohberger. There were about, I think they said 27 messages left in a 2-week period after this particular date. And then sporadically after that, when they checked Kaylee's phone records to look at outgoing calls, she never once returned any of his calls. So we could be looking at a one-night stand and someone dealing with rejection. This is, by the way, I'm not slut shaming. I am a feminist. I do not, subscribe to any misogyny whatsoever. So please don't think that's what this is. It's just what the police are finding out. That is the connection that no one will mention, is that they believe that Kaylee and Bryan possibly spent a night together. Maybe they didn't. Maybe they just talked, whatever. But he became sort of really focused on her and bombarded her telephone with calls, to which she never returned any of them. Also, there's a lot of misinformation. People are just running wild with things. There's all these things about him wearing gloves after the crime to hide his fingerprints. That's ridiculous, because think about it. If he was smart enough to do that, then wouldn't he have been wearing gloves when the crime was committed? Hello? And he thinks he's so smart that he's going to get away with this, which is why he is not fighting the extradition. He is going to say that the reason his DNA was found in the apartment was because he and Kaylee had spent time together. That's going to be his out. A murder weapon will never be found. He could have dropped it anywhere from there to the East Coast. There's just no telling. Anyway, let's see if this stays up. If it gets taken down, this is last year here from me. If it stays up, I will give you some more information that I've got. Thanks. Bye. Hey, I wanted to update you guys.
So what do you make to that? What do you make to it? What do you make to it? I mean, excuse me. It can't be Bryan. It cannot be Bryan. as people were saying when he made this TikTok right here that's had 619k views now. It cannot be Bryan. But people were speculating that when this TikTok was found, that the level of detail, the graphic nature of the detail in it, it had to be Bryan. That's what people were saying. But it's not Bryan. It's not Bryan, because these 3 TikToks have been made after Bryan went to jail. So the information that he's presenting, and he's claiming that he's got insider information because he's got a relative who is part of the investigation team. Now, whoever this is, if that's true, whoever that insider is should shut their mouth, because some of the things that this guy is saying, only the killer would know, or law enforcement. Or he's a big fat liar and he's making it all up. But it can't be Bryan. It cannot be Bryan. Because these TikToks here were made just 5 hours ago. And Bryan is in Monroe County Jail. He will not be making TikToks. So let's see. Let's wait and see. You know, if information comes out, probably at trial, some of the information, you know, we won't know until then. But was Cayley found on top of Maddie? We'll find that out as part of either the court proceedings or at trial. Was Cayley in contact with Bryan Kohberger? You know, these are believable claims. They're believable claims. But if it was 2 years ago, let's think about this. If they were in communication 2 years ago, well, Bryan was in Pennsylvania 2 years ago. We know for a fact that he was in Pennsylvania, not in Idaho or Washington. He was in Pennsylvania because he did his bachelor's degree in psychology and graduated that in 2020 at DeSales University in Pennsylvania. And then he went straight on to do a master's, which he graduated in May 2022. We know that as fact. So was he really communicating with Cayley? You know, and it was a long distance communication, possibly. But as far as them spending a night together, how did they do that? They were 2,500 miles away from each other. So what did they do? Meet in the middle? Do you see what I mean? That it sounds believable and logical, but is it true? Now, if it turns out that it is true and they were communicating and they did meet once, well, fair enough, he was right. But what I'm saying for now is that whatever information he's presenting, it's not coming from Bryan Kohberger, because Bryan Kohberger is in jail. So anyway, what's this one?
Hey, I wanted to update you guys.
Stop it. So again,
hey, I wanted to update you guys.
Oh, I hate TikTok for doing
Hey, I wanted
this.
to update you guys.
No. So this one, it was a day ago. So again, this cannot be Bryan because he was in jail a day ago. But let's listen to it anyway. See what he's got to say.
Hey, I wanted to update
Stop it. Right, this one.
Hey guys, I wanted to report some new information regarding the Idaho 4. Let me first say that, you know, my posting this quote unquote insider information is not some hey guys, I wanted to report some new information.
Well, that didn't work out well.
Hey guys, I wanted to report some new information regarding the Idaho 4. Let me first say that, my posting this quote unquote insider information is not some
Weird. That one cuts off, but he did talk about his videos being deleted. So maybe some videos have been deleted. Maybe they've been reported. I don't know. But his last one, this one, he actually shows his face. Well, he doesn't really. It's very dark. But it's definitely not Bryan. It can't be Bryan. Cannot be Bryan. But here.
Screw off, people. I'm innocent until proven guilty. Screw off, people. I'm innocent until proven guilty.
So, screw off, people. I'm innocent until proven guilty. 5 hours ago.
Hey, I wanted to update
Stop doing that. Posted 5 hours ago. So we've got one crossed off the list. That the TikToker that people believe was Bryan is not Bryan. 100% is not Bryan Kohberger. So I will be focusing on some of the other accounts that have come out. There's a Reddit account. What was it called? Inside something. Can you remember anybody? Because I'm going to look into that as well. But my hunch, and this is purely a hunch, my hunch is that none of them will turn out to be Bryan. I don't think he's been talking about the case on social media. I think if he's inside looking, thank you, Duck. Thank you. Yeah, inside look. So big claims need strong evidence behind them. So if this inside look does turn inside looking, thank you, Julie. If that turns out to be Bryan, well, my hunch was wrong. But I need solid evidence that it is. But what I'm trying to find, what I will look into, and I'm not saying that I'll be able to prove it one way or another, but let's test the hypothesis. Let's see if there's any evidence out there that either proves it's Bryan or disproves that it's Bryan. So I'm not making videos saying that this could be Bryan simply because there's not enough evidence to say that it is at the moment. The videos that I'd make are videos like this one, where I can show you 100% that this TikTok account is not Bryan Kohberger. So yeah, there's that. Reddit posts have been taken down. Oh, that's annoying. That's annoying. Because I don't know what Reddit's like for being able to get into the metadata. Be able to get into the coding, but how much is stored? I don't know. That's what I was going to try to do. Basically to see where it was posted from. Because if you go into the code of any video or post or anything, any website, it will give you a longitude and latitude. So you'll be able to pinpoint where it originated, where it was posted from. So I was going to try and do something like that. But if they've been taken down, because I've seen a number of creators talking about them as if it was Bryan. I mean, having the caveat that this might not be Bryan, said once, and then carrying on as if it's Bryan. And I think that's potentially misleading, because if it turns out that it isn't Bryan, then we've had all this information come out into people's minds, and people forget. This is the problem. People forget that what was being said was just a theory, or this could be Bryan, but we don't know whether it really is. It could be, but we don't know whether it really is. But in people's minds, I mean, I saw this a lot in the Summer Wells case, that information came out and it became part of the story, part of the factual, information about Summer's case. And it turns out that when you go and look back at that source, the source was just an opinion, or it was proven not to be that person and they said they were. Do you know what I mean? So I'm being very, very careful with this case to document what is fact. If I want to look at the psychology of this guy, I've got to get the facts, not things that have been posted on social media that somewhere along the line we'll find out that it isn't him. Well, that's already made it into the narrative of who Bryan Kohberger is. And I want to avoid that. So I'm glad that this guy has posted 5 hours ago and 1 day ago, because it means we can say 100%, this is not Bryan. So whatever information he's got, either he's lying or he does have an inside source who should keep their mouth shut. You can't unring a bell. Absolutely. Thank you, Rini. Absolutely. You can't, because people don't remember the information. Well, firstly, where they heard it. And I'm guilty of this. I think I do. I read a lot and I watch a lot. And then the day after, when I come back to it, I think, where did I see that? Where did I see that piece of information? And it's in my brain, but I don't remember where I saw it. And then I have to backtrack, go through my internet history to try to find it again. I do that regularly. So people who are viewing lots of information, whether it be on YouTube or Twitter or in the news, and are watching it all, the facts get mixed together with stuff that isn't factual, stuff that's just speculation that this could be Bryan, and all this information that's come out from Bryan Kohberger turns out that it isn't Bryan. So I'm trying to avoid that. And I'll document on YouTube, like I'm doing now, when I find information to prove 100% that it isn't Bryan. But otherwise, I'm not going to talk about all of this social media stuff that's supposedly Bryan, because I can't prove that it is. I can't prove that it isn't, but I can't prove that it is either. So that's not good enough for me. My level of, okay, let's say here what is fact. It's got to be strong evidence behind it. Oh, thank you, Adrian. That's so kind of you. $50. Thank you so much. That's very generous. I need to get some sleep. Living on adrenaline is not healthy. Much love from Washington. Honestly, I sleep a lot. My sleep cycle is a bit odd, but honestly, I do sleep a lot. I was asleep before 11 p.m. and then I got woke up at 3:30. And I can't get back to sleep. But I promise you, I will go back to bed after I finish this live. I do sleep. I probably sleep, I don't know, maybe 9-10 hours a day, but in fits and starts, not all in one go. Patty, good question. I was going to come on to that. Might as well talk about it now before I go on to the Daily Mail article. So, do I think that the arrest affidavit will come out this week? Let me just put that on screen because it's an important. I do think it'll come out. Yeah, I do think it'll come out. The information that's come out regarding Bryan's extradition, I think, is worthy of discussion. I was going to discuss it at the end. Let's discuss it now, and then I'll do Daily Mail, and then I'll call it a day. This is not going to be a really long live. So, he's waiving his rights to a extradition hearing, allegedly, but there will be one anyway. There has to be one to, for the record, and that is being televised. That cameras are allowed in court. So I don't know whether you've seen this, But JB Buno from WFLA posted on Twitter just before I went to sleep, actually, that they will have cameras in the court. So they're going live at 3 p.m. Eastern. So the extradition hearing starts at 3:30 in Monroe County, Pennsylvania. So WFLA are going to be live from 3 o'clock. That's 8 p.m. my time. So I will be live at that time to listen to the court hearing. It will only be very short. It will literally be that Bryan appears to prove he is Bryan Kohberger. All the extradition hearing is this person, the person that we've got under arrest and that we're holding, is that the actual person named in the arrest affidavit in the state that they're going to send him to. So it's literally a formality. That's all. So the hearing will be very short. But there might be some interesting nuggets that are said. So I'll be watching it. And as I'll be watching it, I might as well go live and watch it with you guys and then discuss it after. But it will be, probably 5 minutes. Absolutely True Crime Utah. Yeah, it'll be very short. It's literally a formality. So it could be, is this person Bryan Kohberger? Yes. Okay, next case. Right? They're not going to stand around having chats. But you never know. There might be something interesting that comes out that we can talk about. Mary Rose says no cameras. Well, WFLA are going to be live. So I'll show you. That's the Daily Mail article. I wanna save that, actually. I'll open Twitter in another, because I retweeted it. So update. This is Bradley Warren, who's another reporter. This is the jail where Bryan Kohberger is being held. The procedural hearing for extradition will take place at 3:30. That's 3:30 Eastern. I'll be in court. A prison guard told me he's been on the ground facing the wall and not talking. And then Bradley also says, it looks like he'll be back in Latah County in 72 hours after the hearing. So they'll drive him across country. They won't put him on a plane. They'll drive him across country. I'm coming on to that, Pottermouse. So it's 2,500 miles. So 72 hours after. I mean, it might be sooner. They might get him there sooner. But that's 3 days, isn't it? So that'll be Friday. And then there'll have to be an arraignment in Idaho. So it's once he's been served with the arrest papers, as long as the judge doesn't seal them, then they will be part of the public record. Isabel, charter a private plane. I don't think they'll do that because of security. What they tend to do is drive them. Like, certainly in the UK, and we're a very small country. But if a prisoner is being transported, let's say from the south of England to the top of Scotland, you're looking at what, 400 or 500 miles. So nowhere near the distance that Bryan Kohberger has to travel, but they always drive them. They never put them on a plane for security. So Holly says at 3 a.m. they drive them out. Yeah, they do it in the night, but then they obviously this is such a long drive that they have to stop. So they'll have to house him in a jail This will all have to be organised. It probably already is, honestly. But there'll have to be jails available that know that he's coming, you know, so that they can change the driver, they can rest, and also Bryan can rest. Bryan can sleep as well. I remember when they transported Chris Watts, if anybody remembers the Watts case. If they're Chris Watts was transported from Colorado to Wisconsin to Dodge prison, and he was driven, and then he was just literally driven, like set off in the night, and then they stopped at this kind of random place partway through the journey, and they spent a night there, and then carried on to Wisconsin. If they drive Bryan back, what will keep others from following them out for content? They wouldn't know that Bryan was in that. Like they'll put him in the van, the transport van, out of sight of the public. So, no, people won't know that Bryan's there. I mean, this is why they set off in the middle of the night, and they won't publish the route that they're going to take. So, no, he won't be seen. He won't be seen. Blind Squirrel says, no way they drive that far, in my opinion. They do, though. That's what they do. That's what they do. They have a route prearranged, and then they have county jails along the route that know that they're coming, and will have a cell available. Mary Rose says, but it's 37 hours. This is what I'm saying. They're not going to do 37 hours in one go. They stop and rest partway through the journey. They have a prearranged route, and then a certain jail, let's say every few hundred miles, let's just say as an example, that they stop and they rest. How long was the Watts drive? Good question. Hold on. I'll tell you. So it's Weld County, Colorado. To, do we remember the county that Dodge... it's Dodge Correctional. One. Yeah. Oh no, that's the wrong one. Oh, maybe it's not. Where's Wisconsin? Oh no, Wisconsin's over here. Oh, it could be. But Wisconsin's over here. So it's literally the other side of the country. And that's 622 miles. If I've got the right Dodge facility. I don't know whether I have, but it could be further. So Wisconsin's right over here. Right, and then Weld County in Colorado is right over here. And they drove Chris Watts. He talked about it. He's talked about it. They drove him. So they do. They absolutely do. BK says they'll probably fly him. They drive prisoners when it's a drivable distance, but this one is too far. Well, no. No. Driving. Got it on walking. No, they do drive them. They do drive them. So assuming that that's the right Dodge Correctional, which it might not be, it might be further north actually, then it's 10 hours and they stop to rest. So obviously the driver needs to rest, or they change driver, and then the prisoner needs to have a sleep. They won't just do it in one go. Now, obviously, that drive isn't as far as Idaho. Like if we change this, we know it's 37 hours, but let's just do it anyway. We'll do it from King Road. And then we want Monroe County. Yeah. Come on, you can do it. There we go. 38 hours. So it is a lot further than Chris Watts went. But it's my understanding that they'll drive him. Now, they could fly him. But it would be very, very, very unusual. It would be very unusual if they fly him. For security reasons. So if they fly him, then just think about the security risks of flying a potentially dangerous individual. I mean, he'll be shackled. So Sandy says it's not unusual to fly prisoners in the US. Okay, well, maybe they will then. But I mean, I don't know any cases where they've flown like really high profile. Maybe prisoners who are not high risk. Maybe prisoners who are not in the public eye. Prisoners who are not murder suspects. Santa is picking him up. Doesn't the FBI have planes? Probably. I know it's not in a commercial flight. I know that. No, they won't be hiding FBI on planes. It won't be sitting there in business class. The Ninja Turtles will take him through the sewer. Well, we'll see. We'll see. It could be that they have this planned like a military operation, and they'll have a private FBI plane, and they'll have him going through, going through the system, so to speak, or through the route, without anybody knowing when the flight is, or where they're flying from, and where they'll land. Con Air. That's good. Ship him UPS. That's funny. Well, if they drive him, then they'll stop, and they'll probably stop twice. So 72 hours sounds about right, that they'll do it over 3 days. So they'll go, maybe to here, maybe stop for the night, and then go up here and stop for the night, and whatever. If they fly him, then we'll wait and see. However, the original question was, when will the arrest affidavit come out? FedEx. Oh gosh, not FedEx. Almost all fly if it's over a 12-hour drive. Really? Okay. Maybe they do. It's just such a high profile case. It's safer to drive him. However, they may well have a very well planned system in place where the FBI fly him. And we'll wait and see. Wait and see. So what is being said is, by Bradley Warren, what is being said here is, it looks like he'll be back in Latah County in about 72 hours after the hearing. So that will be Friday. So what the DA said at the press conference, if you remember from last Friday, what the DA said was, once he's been served with the arrest papers in Idaho, then that documentation goes public. And it's a public document, isn't it? For those of you in the US, you know, the arrest affidavits, search warrants, things like that, they're public domain information, but a judge can order that they be sealed. But the prosecutor wants that documentation to be public. So the prosecution aren't going to argue to the judge that they want to seal that documentation. Now, if the defense, if Bryan Kohberger's defense put a strong case together that this documentation should be sealed, then the judge might side with them. But as far as the prosecution, as far as the DA is concerned, he wants that information in the public domain. Yeah, the judge can seal it, Mary Rose, like with the Michael Vaughan case. You know, Sarah Wanderer's everything, all of that information is sealed. You know, some bits and pieces have come out, but it's sealed. Richard Allen's arrest affidavit was sealed until very recently, you know, in the Delphi case. So, you know, it could be that the judge seals it if the defense put up a really good argument why it should be. But that would be down to the judge. But we are expecting it to be public once it's been served to Bryan Kohberger. So it could be as early as Friday, or it could be a little bit later. I don't know, but that's what the prosecutor said. That's what the DA said. Thank you, Cecile, for the 1999. That's very kind of you. That's what Duty Ron did, transporting on airplanes and driving. Cool. Okay. Holly. Yeah, I've got a PhD. Long time ago. 20 years ago, I got my PhD. All right, so we've got that one sorted. JB, did I not? Maybe I didn't retweet it, but JB Buno said, JB, here he is. JB Buno from WFLA said, no way. No feed of extradition hearing. PA court officials have clarified the rules for Tuesday's extradition. So whoever said it in chat that there was no cameras in court was right. You see, this was done while I was asleep. The last I heard was that WFLA were going to go live at 3 p.m. Eastern. And then it was going to be televised. But they've obviously clarified it now. So let's read this. So no feed of extradition hearing. PA court officials have clarified the rules for Tuesday's extradition hearing for Bryan Kohberger. PA says a pool feed will show him inside the courthouse, but not inside the courtroom. Okay. Weird. I get it, right. So to clear up confusion, rules made by the PA Supreme Court, the courthouse will allow cameras inside the building, such as in the hallways and designated areas. However, they must follow strict rules, including no access inside courtrooms where hearings are taking place. Okay. But they are still, it looks like they're going live still. He's removed his tweet that he made, though, that I saw. Maybe it's down here somewhere. I don't know. But anyway, the hearing, which is expected to be short, begins at 3:30 p.m. Eastern. I will tweet out a YouTube link Tuesday morning. Our coverage will begin at 3 p.m. Eastern. So they're going to be live. I think I will do a live, actually. It's going to be like 8 p.m. my time, so it's fine. So I'll go live, maybe only a short live to see, because there will be reporters in court, so the reporters will tweet immediately afterwards. There might be some interesting information, or it might not be. It is literally just a formality, that's all. So I'll go live and then we can have a chat about it. There might not be very much to report, but there you go. Excuse me. However, the last thing I want to talk about is the Daily Mail. I've not been sharing my screen, have I? I've not been sharing my screen. This is what I've been reading from JB Bruno. That's what I've been reading. So, no cameras in court. Courthouse will allow cameras inside the building, such as in hallways and designated areas. However, they must follow strict rules, no access inside courtrooms. But I might as well go live. So it'll be 8 p.m. my time. So I'll set up a scheduler later. Julie, YouTube doesn't take 47%. It takes 30% of super chats, not 47. So an oddly specific number, but I think it takes more of the ad revenue. I think it might take 40% or 45% of ad revenue, but it's 30% of super chats. Yeah, Kaylee's dad is going to be there. Yeah, he said he's going to be there. Patty says they flew Laurie Daybell on a private plane. Okay. All right, they might well fly him then. Maybe they'll fly him in the night, and maybe he'll get arraigned on Friday. If not, then the arraignment isn't going to be till the following week. Rinny says Don Wells was in Benny's chat earlier. Was it the actual Don Wells? Or just a fake Don Wells? James, PhD means nothing in terms of evaluating intelligence. Never said it did. Never said it did. You need to be, it's not about being like a genius. It's about being able to think critically and originally. Like PhDs, you've got to provide a unique contribution to knowledge and be able to defend your thesis. So it has to be scientifically sound and original. But no, it's not a measure of intelligence in any way, shape, or form. Go find me says Don would just call him. Don's he changed his Facebook profile picture, which has created some interest. Not from me. I don't care how many times he changes his Facebook profile picture. But anyway, right, last thing I want to talk about. Let's just get rid of some of these windows. Last thing I want to talk about is the Daily Mail article. So some of you might have seen this short video that I made just before I went to sleep. It's not 4 hours ago, it's later than that. I mean, earlier than that. It must be nearly 5 hours. Anyway, the Daily Mail reported that there was a woman who was held for 6 hours. Some of you will know this anyway. There was a woman who was held for 6 hours on New Year's Day due to a domestic violence allegation. So she must have been kicking off. She was probably drunk or something. And she was held inside Monroe County Jail for 6 hours. And while she was in there being held, she allegedly saw Bryan Kohberger, and he was kicking off. He was shouting that he was going to cut up the jailers and come inside. Come on in, mother effer, he said. And that he was exposing himself. That she couldn't see anything, you know, his crown jewels. She couldn't see it because of the window in the door wasn't, you know, it wasn't a full window. But he was trying to take his clothes off, and jailers were telling him to calm down, and he was saying he was going to cut them up and stuff like that. But I'll play you the little clip that I've put on this video. But it has come out since that she wasn't lying, but it wasn't Bryan. It was someone else kicking off. So I don't know, but let's. I'll play you this little clip from. You're seeing this right now. It's Snail online, so make of it what you will. Shut up, Michelle. Let's get the woman up here. All right.
Songs that are violent.
Like what? What songs?
Like you know, okay, so like I'm gonna cut you up. There's one called Bad Bunny. Bad Bunny ain't gonna cut you up, mother. You know this. I'm gonna pee on you and I'll pee on your face. So it's usually by Bad Bunny or Snoop Dogg. My cell was on the right. If I went out and looked to the right, he was right on the right side. So I saw him clearly.
And he was sitting in a cell?
He wasn't sitting. He was standing by the door, but you could still see him.
Oh, the plastic glass.
Yeah, yes.
So how far away were you from him?
If I was here, literally, maybe where this line is right here. He said, you know, do what you want with me. I don't give a motherfucker. You ain't gonna do nothing to me because I'm gonna cut all you up. Those were the words, and he just kept repeating songs that were very violent. And then pulling his shirt up and his pants down.
Exposing himself or just his underwear?
No, exposing everything. His top and bottom.
His like genitalia?
Yes.
So yeah, at first she didn't realize who he. Okay, so I went on to say that, you know, she didn't realize who he was, but it was jail employees that were discussing him, and another inmate told her that it's the guy who killed those college students. So he was tall, skinny, young looking. Repeatedly lifted his shirt. She heard the guards tell him several times to put his pants on. She believes he was trying to expose himself to her. So I said, how can we believe her? You know, and I had a mix of comments, actually. Some people saying, don't believe her. Some people saying, yeah, it's him. However, Jennifer Coffendaffer, the ex-FBI agent on, she's an ex-FBI agent. She goes on Court TV and WFLA, and she does the rounds a little bit. She comes on YouTube sometimes. So she said, per Bryan Entin, the story was not true regarding the Bryan Kohberger's actions behind bars. And then she's screenshotted what Bryan Entin has said. So Bryan Entin said, I am told this is totally false. It was a different inmate in the jail that exposed himself and a different inmate screaming, not Kohberger. So it could be that this woman is telling the truth, that when she was in jail for just 6 hours, that there was a guy shouting and exposing himself and singing rap songs and saying, I want to cut you up and come in here, mother effer, and, you know, being very vocal, shall we say. And it's a mistaken identity, that the information that she got from another inmate, they might have believed that it was Bryan. They genuinely might have believed it was Bryan. So it's not an out-and-out lie. It's just a mistaken identity. But this is the information that I need to get right, because if I'm putting together some, you know, the level of detail that I want to, so that I can look at the psychology of Bryan, then I don't want to run with this was Bryan behaving like a complete lunatic, you know, shouting and threatening to cut people up and singing rap songs and taking his pants off and all of that stuff, because that's very violent. So that would go in my violence category. But if it's not him, I'm not going to run with information that I think could be Bryan, and then it turns out it isn't, because you can't unring a bell, as someone said earlier. So I don't know where Bryan said that. I've looked on Bryan's Twitter here. Doesn't appear cameras are allowed in. We've talked about that. Expecting the hearing to be short since the public defender, blah, blah, blah. Well, I'll come back to that. Kaylee's dad's been talking. He says he will be in court to look him in the face and let him know this is not going to go away anytime soon. Good stuff. I don't know where he said that it wasn't. So I don't know where Jennifer Coffindaffer got that from via Bryan Entin, because it's not on his Twitter. If anybody knows where Bryan Entin said that, then I'd be forever grateful, because he's not said it on his Twitter, and he normally puts everything on his Twitter. So as far as I'm concerned, I'm going to say that this wasn't Bryan, that it was mistaken identity. However, if it comes out that Bryan Entin was wrong, because who did Bryan Entin get that information off? And where did he say it? Because I can't find it on his Twitter. BTK's daughter said a lot. You should play it. It's on News Nation. Yeah, I played a clip of it from my video yesterday morning now. I talked about that interview, Down South chick. I did talk about that interview. And I played a short clip, and it is very informative. So yes, I have seen it and I have talked about it. So I'm not going to play it again. I only played like a handful of seconds anyway, but I directed people to that interview, so it is very interesting. I'm just going to listen to what Bryan has said, or rather what Steve Gonsalves has said, because I haven't seen this. It's only 45 seconds. So let's play this, because I haven't seen this. So Kaylee's dad, Steve, says they are looking for connections between Bryan Kohberger and any of the victims. Let's listen.
What do you make, Steve, of the fact that, you know, he was getting his PhD in criminal justice and had his master's in criminology, and sort of had this knowledge of the way the system works?
I feel like he definitely was into this type of thing. He had made a lifetime commitment to, you know, wrapping himself into crime and solving crime and figuring out how people got caught, interviewing people, doing different things that a normal student wouldn't be so interested in. So I think he maybe got a little overconfident and didn't realize that there really is no perfect way to commit a crime.
What do you make, Steve, of the fact that, you know, he was getting...
Interesting. Yeah, got a bit too comfortable. No perfect way to commit crime. Even the cleverest of criminals, eventually, at least some of them, get caught out. Remember, they only have to make one mistake. They only have to make one tiny mistake. And then if an investigation team finds that tiny mistake, then it blows the case wide open. So yeah, overconfident, Chitty Bang Bang. Let's have a look at the full story of this. I'm not going to play it all, but Kaylee Gonzalez's father speaks after accused Idaho killer's arrest. So that's on News Nation. News Nation Rush Hour. So pop over and watch that. It's only 5 minutes. I'm not going to play it all here. He thinks he's smarter than everyone. I actually do believe, like, if we're going full circle on the live here, I think he does think he's smarter than everyone else. I think that the things that people are coming out saying who knew him, so a couple of students has come out, like different students from his classes, have come out and said that he was a really harsh marker until after the murders, when he seemed to like relax, but he was still like exhausted, and they could tell that he didn't really want to be there. But he just graded everybody really highly and didn't bother, commenting. And this student, I'll play you this. Again, it's a short video that I put on. Which channel did I put it on? This one, I think. I'll play you this if you haven't seen it, because he says that they complained. This is a guy, I can't remember his name, but he spoke to ABC7, it comes from. And this was a student who was in Bryan Kohberger's class. And I've had to explain in my comment section, to the comments of this video, where I detailed Bryan Kohberger's student speaking out. I had to explain to people, because I don't think some people believe that Bryan Kohberger would have students of his own. So let me just clarify this, that it's common practice for universities to employ PhD students as teaching assistants to mark kind of undergraduate work. So when I was training for my PhD, I started my PhD studies. I got the key to my office and signed my contract and things like that on the 1st of October, 1997. And by mid-November, I was in a classroom on my own, with first-year undergrads. And I was getting paid as a teaching assistant to teach some classes. There's very strict rules in the UK about how many hours you can teach. But there's ways that universities get over it, because it's cheap labour for them, honestly, because they pay teaching assistants a lower rate than they pay the professors, obviously, because of the level of experience. But teaching assistants generally teach some classes, not all, just some classes, and it gives the PhD student teaching experience that they can use to get qualified as a lecturer. And it's obviously beneficial to the university. And also grading papers, so grading lab reports or essays. First year undergrads, most of the marking, in my experience, is done by teaching assistants or new lecturers. So it's absolutely the case that Bryan Kohberger would have been employed by the university, the Washington State University, as a teaching assistant. So people who've come into my comments saying students, what do you mean students? He was a student. No, he was a PhD student, but he would be employed by the university to do a certain amount of hours as a teaching assistant. It's common practice. It's not only common practice in the UK, it's common practice in the US. It's probably common practice. It's common practice. I've got people that I used to work with who've gone to work in Malaysia, Australia, and it's the same there as well. And then, you know, they're supervised. So there is a more experienced professor overseeing the training of the PhD student as a teacher. So it's beneficial to everybody that this system happens. So listen to what this guy says. And in this video, I showed this. Let me just find it. Here it is. Now it's got this person's name on, so ignore that. I can't block it out. But it's there. This was just a screenshot I found. It's a student called Madison anyway. And she commented, she made this available online. And she showed the receipt that Bryan Kohberger graded her work on December 16th. And this is Bryan's comment. This is actually what Bryan wrote. I am glad that this course has given you a more nuanced perspective pertaining to criminal justice. Have a great break. And he's graded her 100%, 125 out of 125. Sixth place, it says, yes, a teaching position and an office from day one. Yeah. I got an office from day one, yeah. It tends to be students who are doing their PhD full time who get an office and teaching hours. Like there's some PhD students who don't want it. You know, they're doing a PhD part time and they've got a job. You know, they've got a job working in, you know, I've had people working in probation or working with the police or working in a school or working anywhere really, who are doing a PhD part-time for whatever reason, who don't want teaching hours. You know, they don't want to be in the university. They're doing their PhD probably at home, studying at home and just coming in for occasional classes or supervision meetings. And they don't want teaching hours. So it does tend to be the ones who are full-time who get rostered onto teaching assistant rotas. Broken Spoke says, it seems like you've spoken before on the brain scans of serial killers and normal people. Can you speak on this again for those who don't know? Not in this live, no. It'll take us down a route that's a real tangent from what I'm talking about here, but I can do in future. Yeah, I can do in future. So this backs up. So this is a student called Madison who got 100%, 125 out of 125 on December 16th. Now this backs up what this guy said, who was also one of Bryan's students. So let's listen to this.
Psychologists have discovered that procrastination isn't caused by laziness.
Shut up. All right, let's listen to what this guy says. This is just me talking at the beginning here. Here we go. Right, so this guy is speaking. He's speaking on to a reporter on ABC7. So that's where I got that from. Links in the description of this video. All right, so let's play this.
And goes, when he came into class, he was very, you know, not super mentally present. He would stand up at the front, look at the ground. He had a lot of like boilerplate responses he would give people rather than, you know, maybe something he had thought up on the spot. It seemed like he would be, you know, he'd come in knowing what he was going to say to like most interactions. And then when he would grade your papers, he would be grading you on what he ended up calling like a higher standard. What it really felt like to us was he was grading us like he would have graded himself as a PhD student. And so that was just kind of like, you know, we were all annoyed by him. And so I knew his name, you know, I knew like, oh, T.A. Bryan, like he sucks at this. Like he's grading us too harshly. And that was like an annoyance. But obviously beyond that, we just thought he was a little weird and kind of, you know, a bad grader. Our professor was big on the idea that like, you know, if we're all going to be attorneys someday, then we have to know how to argue our case. And so he scheduled a day where everyone, you know, came in ready to argue to get their grades up, you know, and he brought in Bryan and he was like, all right, go at him. And he had Bryan stand up and everyone was, you know, like a few people were on his side because they wanted to keep their high grades and not like have questions be cut out or whatever. But for the most part, it was like, you know, half of a 150 person class just asking him all these real critical questions and he would answer. And he'd actually, he tried pretty hard to defend himself, which was the kind of thing that our professor loved. He wanted the like courtroom environment. And so there was just a period of class where we were all sort of arguing about this. It wasn't like yelling or anything, but it was certainly conflict, you know? Yeah. We just, it would have been about a month before winter break when like the murders happened. And we didn't obviously build our framework for this around that because we had no reason to connect him to that, you know, at the time. But
I added this screenshot in over the top of this guy talking, by the way. This is the screenshot that I've just showed you from a student called Madison. But it just backs up what he's going to say next.
Definitely around then, he started grading everybody just 100s. Not like you pretty much, if you turned something in, you were getting high marks. And he stopped leaving notes. It was just, you know, he seemed preoccupied is what I would have said at the time. And now obviously he seems like he was probably pretty preoccupied, but it was, yeah, it was much easier. You turn in whatever you wanted pretty much. And he was just grading them up and sending them back. Like he probably, that I saw, he was always a little bit spotty on whether or not he'd come to class because he had, you know, whatever PhD stuff over the top of it. But the couple times that he did come after, or around that time period, I remember him, you know, he had like a little bit more facial hair, just like stubble, but definitely less like well kept than he was. And he was a little quieter. You know, he used to stand up at the start of class and like talk about some stuff sometimes. And this time he didn't really do that at all. He was definitely, I think, like the previous like mental preoccupation that we had been noticing where it was like, you know, he didn't really want to be there. That was at like an all-time high. And he just, you know, didn't look like he was doing great.
This revolutionary.
I'll play the ad, so I get some. I get the ad revenue if I play the ad. It's my channel. It's interesting, isn't it? It's interesting because if you get multiple people saying the same thing, and this student, Madison, that I showed you before, actually brought the evidence, brought the receipt. Look, she brought the receipt. Guys, she brought the receipt. Hold on. Where have I put it? There it is. She brought the receipt that on December 16th, he graded her 100% on her work. Now, we don't know what the work was. It could have been an absolutely fantastic piece of work that deserved 100%. But according to the other guy, he was just grading everybody's up, you know, like he couldn't be bothered. Like he changed. He didn't criticize and leave long notes on people's work anymore and grade them really harshly anymore. He just gave everybody really high marks. So as long as you turned your paper in, you got really high marks. Bobby says, was he grading girls higher than boys? Don't know. The guy said that he was grading everyone high. So he just couldn't be bothered. He probably wasn't even reading the work. He was probably on a kind of feeling good, feeling powerful, feeling probably high and somewhat maybe manic, and just wasn't interested in sitting down and grading people's work and writing long comments, critiquing them. He couldn't be bothered. We probably didn't even read them and just gave everybody a really high mark. I mean, it's interesting. It's interesting what the students said about what the professor did. The professor got Bryan in the class and got students to ask him questions, like in a courtroom type setting, like in an adversarial type way, to resolve this conflict. I think that's interesting that a professor did that and that Bryan agreed to it. But I think after the murders, to answer, let me just get the comment up. It's a good comment. Yeah, just me. Do I think the release of energy from the attack calmed him down? Yes, I do. I think that he was assuming, look, guys, everybody is innocent till proven guilty, assuming that Bryan is guilty, assuming that he will be found guilty in a court of law. Let's just go with the, that this is true, that the police have got their man and the prosecutor is going to prosecute him and he's going to be found guilty and it's true that it was him. Then, yeah, I do believe. What we see with people who commit murders, who do it for, hate or for thrill, particularly, that afterwards they have a period of euphoria where they feel really good. And that calms down the feelings of anger, the repression. So beforehand, where he was being really critical, being overly critical to students, marking them unfairly, he was angry. He was probably pent up frustration, which released, the high that he'd have got, probably carried on. And what killers do to keep that high going is they replay parts of that crime. Some of them go back to the crime scene if it's available. In this case, it wasn't, but they'll do things to remind them of the crime. They'll fantasize about it to keep that high. And then that's how serial killers end up becoming serial killers, because they've got to get that feeling back. It becomes a compulsion. It becomes an obsession, a need to do it. Like being addicted to drugs or being addicted to exercise. Some people exercise in excess because of the endorphins that are released from the brain. And it's a similar biological mechanism in serial killers who are doing it for thrill, or at least that's in part their motive. That they're addicted to the high of killing. So absolutely, I believe that calmed him down, yeah. Tina Marie says, I'm just going to answer some questions and then I'm going to sign off because I've showed you everything that I wanted to show you. So what I've shown you is the TikTok account is not Bryan, absolutely not. I don't know about other social media accounts as of yet. I suspect, I've got a hunch that they're all fake, but I can't prove that or disprove it as of yet. What I can say is that the TikTok has been ruled out. That definitely is not Bryan. What is true is that I believe anyway that the students who are coming out and the friends that are coming out are telling the truth. At least one student has brought us a receipt. So I think that's truthful information. And then the Daily Mail article, it's possibly a mistaken identity. So the Daily Mail information about Bryan supposedly kicking off and saying he's going to cut up the jailers and things like that, it's another prisoner. But I can't find where Bryan Entin said it. It came via Jennifer Coffendaffer, but I don't know where Bryan Entin actually said that it was a mistaken identity. So we've still got a question mark over that one, but I think possibly it was a mistaken identity. So that's what we've covered in this live. So I'm going to sign off in a minute or two, but I'll just answer a few questions if you've got any. I did see one. from Tina, and I can't find it now. Yeah, they said he looked unshaven and dishevelled. I just think he wasn't sleeping. There probably was some fear in that, but the fear itself can be addictive, like the danger, like being you know, I've committed this heinous act and everybody's talking about it. There's going to be fear. There's going to be some fear there. I think he probably wasn't sleeping. Oh, here it is. This is the question I wanted to refer to. Do you think his interest and study of criminology led to his desire to kill, or his desire to kill led him to study criminology? I think his desire to kill led him to study criminology, in my opinion. Criminology, criminal justice, psychology, forensics, all the disciplines where crimes are discussed, the causes of crimes are discussed, the motives of crimes are discussed, crime scenes. They are very popular degree courses. Like the university that I used to work at, like that I did my degree at, we were in classes of like 200. And it carried on being year on year on year. There was more than 200 students that would enroll on psychology. And then criminology was a separate discipline. So there'd be criminology students, policing students, criminal justice students, law students. Thousands and thousands and thousands of students do bachelor's degrees in criminology, psychology, forensics. And they don't all become killers, do they? The content, the subject matter does not make you a killer. Right? This is why I said in a video the other day that don't tar every psychology student with this brush now, or every criminology student with this brush now. No. Thousands and thousands of people study for psychology, criminology, criminal justice degrees, both at undergraduate level, at bachelor's level, and then at higher level, either as master students or go on to get a small fraction of them go on to study at PhD level. Look at all the people involved in, you could say that somebody wants to be a police officer because they want to, vicariously fantasize about doing the killing themselves. Well, there might be a small proportion of them that do, but it doesn't make them a killer. So no, it's his desire to kill. I think it's his fascination. I think the research he was doing was actually me-search. He was trying to find out about himself. He was trying to communicate with like-minded people and find out about himself. And as I've talked about several times now, both in lives and in videos, that he was trying to work out. He was asking questions of himself that he was posing as research questions to his sample of ex-cons. So I think it was me-search. He was researching himself. So it was his desire to kill, or probably his fascination with murder that's led him to study criminology. But it's a very good question. But that's my take on it. That's my take on it. Have we got any last questions or anything? They haven't found the knife yet. No, they've not found the knife. They've not found the murder weapon. Interesting. I'm going to do a live on this. I was actually going to do a live on this today, but I got busy, so I didn't. Are they born that way, as there something happened to them? It's a combination. It's an interaction between genetics and experience. But I'll talk about that more in a live. So it won't be today, because I want to cover the court hearing. Tomorrow I'm really busy. Probably Thursday I'll do a live on that. Do I think he may have thought of the students as learning experiences rather than human beings? No, I think he probably thought of them as annoyances, and he was better than them. So when he was harshly grading them, when he was feeling frustrated and angry and he didn't really want to be there, they were an annoyance. So he would just lord it over them that he was more intelligent than them, and he'd be very critical of them. And that's when a professor had to step in, because the students complained about him, that he was a bad grader. So a professor had to step in. So it probably was Bryan's supervisor who had to step in and deal with that situation. So no, I think they were just annoyances, and he thought he was better than them. Like, because I'm absolutely convinced that he would measure high on narcissism and Machiavellianism. I've said that for a long time. Is it true that he's on the spectrum? Do you mean the autism spectrum? There's lots of different spectrums. Possibly. I don't know. I don't know. Possibly. I don't know him enough to say that. The reason why I'm saying that he's narcissistic and Machiavellian is because of the nature of the crime. That's where I've got that from, not from Bryan's personality, as in an experience with Bryan that could assess his personality, until he actually comes out and speaks, if he ever does. Then I don't know. Possibly, though. That might relate to his obsessions. He seems to be quite obsessional, but there's lots of people who are obsessional for many different reasons other than being on the autism spectrum. So I don't know. Well, the police said they didn't think that crime was related. I have talked about it before. They've said it's not related, but how do we know? Like, how do they know? Because as far as I'm aware, they haven't caught the person who skinned that dog. So whether they've got information that can prove it wasn't him, I don't know. I think it's suspicious, in my opinion. If the police hadn't have come out and said that, I would have thought so. I would have thought, yeah, I bet that's him. But I'll go with what law enforcement have said and say they've said it's not related, so I'm going to discard it. It is very suspicious, though. No, I don't know if he's got an actual diagnosis. We've not heard anything about any diagnosis or anything that he might have been diagnosed with in the past. So be interested to know, though. Interested to know. True crime freak. Intelligence played no part in this, obviously. But do you think it's a chemical imbalance or mental health issue? Chemical imbalance. What I think I can say is that there's a genetic component to personality constructs like narcissism or psychopathy. There's a genetic component to it. Now, how that manifests in the biology of the individual, I don't think we really know. So is it a chemical imbalance? Is it a stress response that happened in pregnancy, in the mother's pregnancy, that influenced the child in the in utero? All of these things are theories that we talk about in psychology. It's like the nature versus nurture debate. I think there probably is some mental ill health there, which might explain why he was a heroin user from a very early age. but we just don't know. We don't know whether he's got any formal diagnoses. I'm sure that he will have a psych evaluation once he gets back to Idaho and the court proceedings start. Then he will be psychologically evaluated. Whether we'll get to know the results of that, we probably won't. I think probably we'll only get to find out if he's deemed incompetent to carry on. You know, like Sarah Wanderer in the Michael Vaughan case, or Laurie Vallow. You know, they were deemed not competent to defend themselves. So they weren't competent enough to understand the court proceedings. Therefore, the court proceedings have to stop. So we don't know the exact nature of why Sarah Wanderer was deemed incompetent, or why Laurie Vallow was deemed incompetent at a certain time. I know she's been back. It's been backwards and forwards with her, hasn't it? But Idaho does not have a insanity defense. So Sarah Wanderer's in Idaho. So we know we've got a case that's going on at the moment that is now stopped, essentially, waiting for Sarah to be deemed competent to carry on with the court proceedings. So we'll get to find out whether he's deemed psychologically incompetent, but we probably won't know what the diagnosis or the reasons are for that. There are cases where very young children have a desire to kill. They're rare, but it happens. There's cases that are very well known where children have been, their personality is so dark and their experiences early on in life have been so traumatic, it creates the perfect storm. So I could give you the killers of Jamie Bulger here in the UK. Jamie Bulger was killed, a 2-year-old boy. It's a long time ago now, but it's very close to my home, within 30 miles of where I live. And 2 10-year-olds murdered him, abducted him from a shopping mall and killed him. And it was horrendous, absolutely horrendous. 2 10-year-olds. There's the case of Mary, what's her name? Mary Bell, that I did in Crime Story Sunday, who was horrible, absolutely horrible child, but she'd come from a very traumatic home life, and she murdered at the age of 11. So it's a perfect storm when you get children who are very, very violent. It's a perfect storm. It's the interaction between the genetic component and life experience. I have explained the dark triad very recently in a video. So, and I've also talked about it on previous lives as well, but I'll show you the video where I talk about it in relation to Bryan. So you can just go and watch it. Hold on a minute, where is it? I'm confused. Where is it? Oh, there we go. Unpacking Evil. The Idaho Fours Killers Dark Triad Explained. So it's that one. It's from 8 days ago. So it was actually, I did that video before Bryan was even arrested, before any of us knew who Bryan Kohberger was. But I talked about the Dark Triad because I truly believe that the killer, and I've said this early on, measured high in narcissism and Machiavellianism, which is a desire for power. I'm not sure about psychopathy, which is the third prong of the dark triad. There's 3 prongs to the dark triad: narcissism, Machiavellianism, and psychopathy. So go and watch that video because I explain it all in that one. I've explained it in relation to other cases as well, but I've actually explained it in relation to the Idaho murders 8 days ago. Oh, I didn't share it. There you go. You can see it now. But this one here, it's called Unpacking Evil, the Idaho Fours Killers Dark Triad Explained. So that's what the thumbnail looks like. That's the title. I keep forgetting to share my screen. But yeah, I have explained the dark triad there. I've explained it in relation to other cases as well. I wonder whether I could... triad. Oh, there you go. These are all the times I've talked about the dark triad. I don't know how it finds them. So there I talked about it. I talked about it in that live. I'm sure I didn't talk about it in that live. I don't know why it's picked that up. Talked about it in relation to Don Wells. So there you go. I have talked about the dark triad. I don't know. I possibly. If he's a knife, if he likes knives, if he's a weapons connoisseur, then yes, he will have done. But if he isn't, if the knife wasn't special to him in any way, wasn't considered, you know, part of him, then he will have discarded it. But it could literally be anywhere. I don't know whether they'll ever find it. I think he will have hidden it. Well, it could be anywhere between Washington, Pullman, Washington, and Albrightsville, Pennsylvania. Could be anywhere. Nature nurture debate, one of your favorite debates. I used to actually do a class on the nature nurture debate. Well, I talked about it many times when I was a university lecturer, but I used to do once a year, I used to do a class where I did a debate. So I'd choose a particular case, and I'd get students to basically argue the case, like for the nature side and then the nurture side. It was always really good. They used to get really, really het up about it though. Like going out of the classroom, like arguing about it. Dear me. I used to get really into it, but it was great. It was great. I used to love it. Like proper debate. Yes, they will. Yeah, they will. I've got any more questions of... Do I think it's his first killing spree? I do, actually. I don't think he's a serial killer already. I've said that many times. But I'm wondering whether, if he hasn't murdered a human before, he's been killing non-human animals, or he's committed lower level crimes like sexual assault. I mean, I know sexual assault isn't lower level, but in relation to how the law defines these crimes, whether he's committed sexual assaults, whether he's harassed people, stalked people, committed physical assaults, all of that stuff is probably starting to come out. You know, we've heard about him being a bully. We've heard about him being, you know, thinking he's better than everyone else. We've started to hear the rumblings of that. So I think there might be lower level crimes in his history that he's never been caught for. But in relation to murder, I don't know. I don't think so, but I'd be happy to be wrong, because he could well have done. I think they should be looking at unsolved crimes, including murder, within, let's say, a 200-mile radius of where he grew up or where he lived. Because I'm sure there are unsolved crimes that possibly might be linked to him. But who knows? Who knows? There's a journal article I'm going to show you when I do my live on serial killers. And the average age that serial killers start murdering is 30. So the average serial killer doesn't commit their first act of murder until the average age 30. So some will be younger, some will be older. It's just an average. But more than likely they've committed lower level crimes, and the first murder is an escalation of those lower level crimes. So in terms of terms, yeah, I mean, I would say killing 4 people could be a mass murder. It is a spree killing, but where do we draw the distinction between a spree killing and a mass murder? Do you know what I mean? How many people have to be killed for it to be considered a mass murder? But killing 4 people at the same time would not be, and that was the only murder event they'd ever done, they wouldn't be classed as a serial killer. But like I've kept saying, all serial killers have their first time. So is this his first time? You know, I think it's more likely an escalation of events. I have a question about TikTok. Can you preset a time and date for videos to go out, like texts and emails? So they couldn't go out when FBI turned on his computer. No. The FBI, so you're saying that the FBI turned on his computer 5 hours ago or whatever it would have been? No. The FBI won't need to turn on any computers. The FBI just plug something in to the computer to read the hard drive. They don't turn a computer on because that would be considered messing with a crime scene. They take the data off the hard drive without actually interfering with the computer in any way. So no, it's not possible for the FBI to inadvertently triggered some TikToks going out. No, it's not possible. I don't know whether TikToks can be scheduled. I don't know TikTok well enough, but that would not be due to the FBI dealing with his computer. So no. No, honestly, we don't know if he's still vegan. All we know, I mean, I know a lot of people are talking about it, but all we know is one of his aunts has said that in the past, he expected his family to buy pots and pans. I've talked about this at some length in a video. We don't know if he's still vegan, and we don't know the reasons why he was vegan when his aunt was talking about him needing new pots and pans that they'd never had meat cooked in them. Veganism is the avoidance, the excluding where practicable and possible exploitation of animals in every way. So it's not a diet. Vegan is not a diet. What you eat is related to veganism, because if you're excluding where practicable and possible exploitation of animals, then you're not going to eat them, because just the whole process of raising and killing an animal for food or hunting an animal for food is exploitation. But you also avoid products that have been tested on animals. You don't wear things that have come from an animal, like leather or wool or anything like that. I know this because I've been vegan for nearly 7 years, and I haven't eaten meat since I was 11, meat or fish since I was 11, because I don't eat my friends. So I know a lot about this, a lot about this. I've got a lot of people I know who are vegan, but also who are ex-vegan. I know some people who were vegan in the past who are now hunters. So people can change. I know hunters who are now vegan, so they can go the other way. But in relation to your question, do I think him being vegan and not killing Murphy is a correlation? If he's still vegan and he was vegan for the reasons, the genuine reasons of veganism, to avoid the exploitation of animals, then technically, yeah, he might not have killed Murphy because he didn't want to exploit Murphy and kill him. But I don't think so. I think he didn't kill Murphy because Murphy wasn't on his killing a dog, wasn't on his kill list. His anger and the thrill of it all was about killing humans, not about killing dogs. And Murphy was probably asleep. And Murphy was only not much more than a puppy. He'd only just turned 1. And he's grown up in a party house from being a little puppy. He's grown up in a party house. So somebody coming in and there being some noise wouldn't have even fazed him. Now, maybe if a dog, you know, it had been a Rottweiler or a Doberman or a German Shepherd or a pit bull that would have barked and attacked him, maybe, then maybe he would have killed him because he would have been a threat then. But he didn't need to. He may have even not even seen Murphy. Murphy might have just been asleep in another room. So I don't think there's a relationship necessarily between that. The Dummy Blondes, thank you for the £5. Morning, Michelle. Quick hello before I go walk the dogs. Keep going back to the skin dog. The owner said the sheriff said it was definitely a human. Yeah, we know it was a human. Like an animal doesn't skin a carcass like cleanly. So it's definitely a human. But they did say, the law enforcement did say that they didn't think that the crimes were connected. So who knows? Maybe. I wish they would have said that they knew who did that. They, you know, they wouldn't have had to reveal any details or anything like that. But I think that would set people's minds at rest. Yeah, possibly. If he saw the dog just would not be on his radar. The dog's just a dog. The hatred and the desire he had to kill was for humans, not dogs. Or not that particular dog. Yes, it's gratifying. Yeah. I guess you would consider it gratifying. Yeah. Non-confrontational. Grown up around people. Grown up around a lot of strangers. So probably didn't even bat an eyelid about it all. Oh, you're welcome. I'm just trying to clear up as many things as possible. For me, you know, it's the stuff I'm doing for me, and I might as well just do this live. No, we don't know that, Veronica. This is the thing I'm saying. We don't know. We don't know that. Where's the proof? Where's the proof that the account on Reddit and 4chan was actually Bryan? Where's the proof? I can't prove that it wasn't. All I can prove is the TikTok that people have been talking about wasn't Bryan. 100% was not Bryan. I can prove that. Rewind back to the beginning of this live where I showed the information. But at the moment, I can't prove that it was Bryan on Reddit or 4chan, but I also can't disprove it either. So as far as I'm concerned, I'm not going to talk about it as if it was Bryan and enter that information into the narrative of this case, because people forget that this wasn't fact. So I want the evidence, I want the proof that this was Bryan. So no, you can't say that this was him. You can't say this was him. There's no proof that this was him. I can't prove it wasn't, but until it's proven that it's him, then it doesn't enter the narrative that I want to talk about and the profile that I want to build up about Bryan Kohberger, like psychologically speaking. It was just priced that the Reddit. Do you mean proved that the Reddit was not him? Where's that from? Who's proven it that it wasn't him? Because I'll go and look at that. Yes, absolutely true. Yes. He graduated his master's from DeSales University in Pennsylvania in May 2022. And the fall semester of his PhD studies would have started in August 2022. So he would have moved to Washington sometime during the summer of 2022. And he was only there studying and teaching as a teaching assistant for one semester. So yes, that's absolutely true. I think he possibly watched social media. The point that I think he would have done. I absolutely think he would have done. I think he would have got some enjoyment out of listening to what people are talking about, you know, and how wrong people were. And I bet he was laughing his socks off when everybody was blaming Hoodie Guy or Jack D or whoever else, Jeremy the neighbor or Enan Harsh or all of those people. You know, I bet he was laughing his socks off about that, thinking, oh, ha, 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 they all think it's this guy or that guy and nobody even knows who I am. I bet he got a kick out of that. So well done to you guys who did that, who provided him that that hilarity. However, I don't see any proof that these social media profiles that people are talking about is or isn't him. Okay, so there's no proof it was or it wasn't speculation at this point. Absolutely. That's the point I'm making, that what we need is evidence, absolute evidence, like I've just done with TikTok, that we can prove without a shadow of a doubt that it wasn't Bryan. We can prove it. It's right there for you to, you know, so we can cross TikTok off the list, that the TikTok account that people were thinking was Bryan wasn't Bryan. Right. Jennifer Coffendaffer just posted the info, did she? Okay, Jennifer. Let me just find Jennifer. Jennifer Coffendaffer. Did she post it on Twitter? Because I only follow her on Twitter. And then... Oh, so that's the TikTok. So another rumor bites the dust 19 minutes ago. So she's picked up on that. So that's the TikTok. What about the Reddit? 2 rumors in one discredited. Another rumor dispelled. Okay. So this is from the Corner Club. Suspect was not and has not been here. No one was removed from the bar that evening of the incident. Stop calling us. What do you think of the statements made by the parents? So is it this one? Do I have to look at the tweet from an account that I've muted? I mute people for a reason. Let's have a look. I know. No, I'm not going to do it on. I'm going to look at that on my own, because I don't want people to talk about who I've muted on Twitter. The internet's insane. I know whose tweet that will be. I'm going to have to go and look at it myself, because the person that I muted gets things wrong a lot. Gets things wrong a lot. So I'll go and look at that myself. But we absolutely know that the TikTok is not Bryan. My opinion, well, it's understandable that you get upset if you've got an autistic child, that people make a correlation to violence and people on the spectrum. So it's understandable. But the truth of the matter is that autistic people are just as likely to commit crime as anyone else. So they're probably not they're not more likely to commit crime than anyone else, but some autistic people do commit crime. So that's my opinion. It's the same with schizophrenia, that schizophrenics get a bad rap because everybody think that people with schizophrenia are violent and, you know, can't control themselves. And that's absolutely not true. But schizophrenic people do commit crime. Autistic people commit crime. The question should be, do they commit crime more than anyone else? No, they don't. So that's my opinion. But I understand why you would feel upset about people unfairly saying that autistic people commit crime. Thank you so much, Nikki. Watch your show every day from California. This is the first live I've ever made it to. It's because I'm at an insane time. I'm online at an insane time. For me, personally, it's now 6:25 a.m. So I'm guessing it's later in the evening. It's a good time for people in California for me to do this live. But thank you for the $5. It's very kind of you. Okay. Do I think he committed murder before? Just answered this. I'm not sure. I don't think he's a serial killer already. I think this is the beginning of a serial killer career. And thankfully, he's been caught, assuming that it's actually him and he gets convicted. You know, everyone's innocent till proven guilty, blah, 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 blah. If he's not committed murder before, and I suspect he hasn't, but he could have done. I think he's been. I think it's more probable that he's committed lower level crimes, and this is now an escalation. But he's certainly been antisocial in the past. We've got reports of him being a bully. We've got reports of him being aggressive. But how that relates to previous criminality, we're yet to find out. But anyway, I'm going to call it a day. I've been on here over 2 hours. I only meant to do a quick live, and I've been on over 2 hours. So I won't get time to go back to sleep now before the dogs wake up. Cassie's already woken up. I might be able to like grab an hour before she gets really annoyed. So, because they want to go out really early. But I can sleep later. I'll go to bed later. All right, guys. So I'll be live later on to cover the court appearance, which probably will just be very short and there won't be anything really interesting. But I'll do a live about it anyway. And I'll see you very soon. So if you've just woken up and you're just coming in, then rewind. I don't take my lives down, so it'll be there forever for you to watch it at leisure. So thanks for being respectful. Hi, Scott H. I've not seen you in the chat, but hi, Scott. Thank you to the moderators. Trixie's been in here doing her usual stuff. So thank you so much, Trixie. Thank you for the super chats, super stickers. You're always very generous. And yeah, I'll see you later. Bye, guys.